It's only.
I feel like they.
Why you have to be mad?
Sorry, what was that?
Is he in Nashville? Am I close geographically?
They've
The
been cooking it
contracts.
up.
The contracts are coming in.
No one knows what he is. He's a big orange monster
What's
with
he?
googly eyes.
He's
and
a gritty.
Okay.
Little.
The Florida League.
What do you think of Owen's bracket? Do you remember it?
It's hopeful.
Folks, welcome back. Episode 40, Bread Loves Hockey Podcast, Dean and Bread. We're coming to you on Wednesday night, right after the Vegas-Dallas Game 5. Vegas loses 3-2, tight one. So that puts a damper on the night a little bit for me. But don't worry, because Dean's upset
night,
too.
So.
Yeah.
A couple of sad hockey fans here.
Yeah.
At least your team put some effort in.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. It was a weird game. Lots of goals early on.
2-2 after one.
Yeah, 2-2 after one. I think at one point they both had 2 goals on 7 shots. So that'll just tell you a little bit about the first period. Hill starting in net for the first time in this series after Thompson got the first 4 starts, so that was a big storyline. Don't really think it was Hill that cost us the game. It was a 3-2 final. So obviously very tight, but and I think they scored at least once on the power play. So yeah, it was tough. Pietrangelo had a pretty bad penalty, which they initially called it a 5-minute major for elbowing, and then they reviewed it and dropped it down to 2 minutes for roughing. But Sagan got blasted pretty good in the face, had some blood, so I was like, okay, we got away with one there. But that's the power play that they scored on, so that was a bummer.
Has the Stars' power play been good?
Yeah, they have been good, which has been a bummer. Vegas has been okay, but not as good as Dallas, I don't think. I mean, I don't know. I don't have the numbers in front of me, so maybe I'm actually wrong about that, but at least that's how it feels like it's going.
Mm-hmm. And how do you feel now that Dallas is the first team in the series to win at home?
Yeah, that's not. I mean,
Does that mean anything?
Maybe it means that the seal's been broken and that Vegas will win at home on Friday. You gotta kind of have hope, because if you don't, that's all you got. I mean, you can't do anything for the on ice product as a fan.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have this series going 7. I mean, a lot of people have been saying that this could be the final, 2 really good teams in the first round.
Yeah.
Both healthy.
Yeah, and I remember when it was 2-0 when we were reporting last week. I had mentioned definitely not going to be a sweep. Dallas was too good of a team, and unfortunately, I gave them a little bit too much credit, and they took that and ran with it and won their last 3 games. So that's not really what I was trying to do, but that's how it goes. We've played Dallas in the playoffs 3 times now, so we've got a lot of history with them already. And yeah, I'm not going to be surprised if it goes to 7. If they lose in Vegas on Friday, that'll obviously suck too. But hopefully they at least make it a series. It's been very entertaining, though. I wish I was watching as somebody without any skin in the game, just because I'm sure it's very entertaining.
Yeah, I had the first period on in the background, and especially after watching the Bruins game last night, a 2-1 game.
Yeah.
Seeing 4 goals in the first, I was like, wow, this is nice.
I didn't know this could happen. Well, I'm sure if you were watching any of the Jets-Avs series, you were excited by that.
Avs scored 5, 6, 5, and 6 in there.
Man, 28 goals in a 5-game series.
Yeah. And they scored 6 in the game they lost.
Yeah. Yeah, 7-6. It was game one. So same thing that happened last season with Winnipeg. They win game one and then lose the next 4 games in a row and lose the series in game 5. So that's not a good trend. I know Bonus was getting some heat because of a quote he had about how he doesn't really like to change his game too much. Like he'd rather lose the game and play it his way than play it somebody else's way and win or whatever. Which was just not something you want to hear when the team clearly needs to make adjustments. They let in 28 goals in 5 games. Hellbuck was terrible after literally winning the Jennings Trophy in the regular season.
Probably gonna win the Vezina.
Yeah, right. It's just I don't know if that will impact the Vezina voting, and we'll get into that in a little bit here. But
technically, it shouldn't.
It shouldn't theoretically. So I saw I think it was 14% of the goals that they allowed all season were scored in this playoff series in 5 games. So it's the absolute worst time to have bad performances by the defense and the goaltending and everything. It was in the most critical time of the year for the Jets. Gotta be frustrating.
Yeah, especially it seems like the Jets are one of the teams where they have good regular seasons and then have not had good playoff success. Like this year, obviously, 1 win, 4 losses. Last year, 1 win, 4 losses. The year before, I'm looking, it says 4 wins, 4 losses. So I guess they swept and then got swept. I don't remember who they played.
That was
the
bubble where they swept the Oilers and then they got swept by the Canadians. Which was it was weird.
Yeah, their playoff record all time is 18-35-0. Well, obviously, and 0. But 18-35.
Yeah, that's tough. And
but I mean, I guess if it's
they
any
just
solace,
need
like this year, playing against the Avs, it's that team is a wagon right now. But they also didn't have a good end of the year, but they definitely turned it on in the playoffs.
Yeah, they're a much more experienced group. They've obviously won it all, and they just all of their depth pieces that they acquired at the deadline have seemed to have been paying dividends. Middlestat's been having a really good playoffs. I think there was another player who was doing pretty well since coming over. And they just scored in bunches. So it's going to be a really good round 2 matchup between whoever plays them, whether it's Vegas or Dallas. I don't think if Vegas survives Dallas, I don't think they would be able to beat the Avs right now with the way the teams are playing. I mean, they're going to need to
as a fan. I feel like as a fan, you're always unsure.
Yeah.
You're the Bruins fan was 3-1. I'm this is still going 7. I'm terrified.
Yeah, I mean, last year, I didn't really feel last year. I said during the run, this was the most confident in the team that I've ever been. The least nervous I've been for them to win, and obviously, they proved me right.
I felt that way last year too.
Yeah, well, yeah, after they won, of course. But I don't.
Bruins.
Oh, with the Bruins, yeah.
I was also very confident in them.
But I don't feel that same way about them right now. Obviously, I didn't really even feel it when they were up 2-0 in the series.
Yeah.
So we'll see if they can pull some magic out of their hats. I'm sure the rest of the league is rooting for Dallas to make a push because I think everybody's sick of Vegas.
Yeah. Well, the other thing about the Avs is after Game 1, the whole discussion was about Georgiev, and then he had a great rest of the series. And again, it helps when your team's putting up whatever you said, 20 whatever goals in the series. So I mean, if he can keep that up, that certainly helps. But if he goes back to like, how long can you have a red hot goalie that's been mediocre for like on average they fall to like what low 900s is probably their average save percentage.
Yeah.
Like so
Yeah, I think the
that'll be
Stars
interesting
could
to see in round
expose
two.
that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, like Johnston, Robertson have been like so explosive. I feel like, and the Jets just didn't really have anybody that was super dominant in this series, obviously. So, yeah, I just think if that's the way it goes, it would be really tight. But I'd probably, I'd probably lean towards Dallas in that one. They're the higher seeded team as well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Jets are done, and we move on to let's go out and get the rest of the eliminated teams out of the way. Sam's Washington Capitals couldn't get it done. They get swept by the Rangers, and yeah, I mean that's kind of what a lot of people were expecting. So I did pick them for that what was it, transcontinental hockey tournament or whatever it was to be the worst team, which they ended up being the only team to get swept.
I tried to get cheeky with the Islanders.
The
So
Islanders, yeah, they put up a fight.
Yeah.
They lose in game 6 last night, so they're done too. But yeah, Capitals didn't really put up a fight. Ovi had no points in the whole series, which is the first time he's ever been held to no points in a playoff series. So we said before the series started that they were gonna need him to be like an incredible. He was gonna have to be the backbone in order to win, and well, there you go.
I feel like if you need to lean on a 38-year-old to be like the difference maker, though, you're probably not in the best shape.
Well, yeah,
Like
that's why we were
they
grasping at
need,
straws to find a way to see how
yeah,
they could come up and win.
like if you need more scoring support because it's easy to shut down one guy. I mean, even just Ovi could not get shut down in the playoffs in his prime, but now it's like they can stop him. I mean, the whole thing before was like, you know where he's shooting from, but he still scores. Now it's like, you know where he's shooting from, and you can get in the way. Like,
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
fine. But yeah,
It's
like their
really not like
defense,
that.
like John Carlson, and that's it. So like,
And yeah, and like I think,
it,
and they had a bunch of injuries that series too. I know Van Riemsdyk got hurt for some time, but yeah, they just weren't gonna be able to get it done. They didn't have the skill at really any of the three positions to make up the difference.
yeah,
Islanders put up more of a fight. They ended up winning Game 4 in overtime to push it. Oh no, so they
yeah. You said Game 6 earlier. Or is Game 5?
yeah,
That
it
they
was Game 5. I
eliminated.
was thinking it was Game 6 for some
They only
reason.
won one game, but it was the one Zane was at, so that's good for
Yeah,
him.
yeah. Zane gets to see
Double overtime.
a double overtime game winner at home. That's gotta be pretty fun. Obviously, that didn't end the way he wanted to as far as the series, but still a good memory. And I'm sure the atmosphere was crazy in there.
Yeah, that's one of the series where it's like the Hurricanes are just the better team. Like the Islanders were outskilled, but they gave it their all. Like the effort they put in was there. It's just like it wasn't for a lack of trying. They just
No,
didn't have the firepower to match the Hurricanes.
yeah, I mean, they did give up that 3-0 lead in Game 2, which was big, and I think there were some other couple games where they let in 2 goals in like 8 seconds. I think twice in that series, which yeah,
You don't
you
win too
can't do that.
many series like that.
No, you don't. So good effort, but and they made it. They made it to the playoffs, which again a lot of fans were not expecting the Islanders to be pushing for a playoff spot this season after barely scraping in last year too. So good on
Yeah.
them. And I think we have Is that it for the eliminate? Oh no.
We have the Battle of Florida.
Yes.
The passing of the torch, as people are calling it.
Mm-hmm. The younger brother finally beats his older brother.
Yeah.
At whatever, ping pong,
The
video games.
the kid beats his dad in the driveway in basketball.
The future is now, old man. Florida Panthers finally, for the first time in franchise history, beat the Tampa Bay Lightning. They beat them in 5 games in Florida. It was a pretty dominant game. They won, I think, 6-1 after like 3 empty netters. So, yeah, I think a lot of people thought Florida was going to come out with that one. And maybe it would, be a little bit closer, like 6 or 7. But yeah, Tampa just didn't have it this year, and they even, had pretty good showing from Vasilevsky, which you kind of need for them. So they still just were like so close on a lot of the games, but just not enough to get it done, which is hard.
Yeah. What do you think with Tampa going forward here? I mean, I don't know. Did you watch the last game? Any of it?
Yeah, I watched most of it.
With the broadcasters mentioning every chance they got about that Stamkos
Oh,
was
yeah.
last year under contract.
Yeah, they were like,
this could be the last time he is in a Tampa uniform.
there he is, soaking it in at the bench, and then it's like, oh no, he's just waiting for 2 other players. It's like,
Yeah.
that's a real leader there, they're like, it's like he's being sent out into sea or something. Like, there's nothing certain about the future there yet. Like, we don't know if he's definitely leaving. We don't know if he's definitely staying. So, that's a lot of hearsay right now. We'll see what Brisebois wants to do. I know Hedman also is entering his final year of his contract, so we'll see if they look at an extension this off season or if they wait it out. But yeah, they've got some questions there. I think they got some other UFAs. I haven't really been digging too much into the off season stuff for the non-playoff teams and eliminated teams.
Yeah. Well, I know they had signed a lot of long-term contracts. They signed like 3 8-year contracts over the summer, right?
Yeah. I think they did sign some that are going to kick in this year. Well, next season.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know whether Stamkos comes back or not. I think they're beyond the point of being cup contenders. Like, I don't know if they go into rebuild, retool, or what's next for them, but I think it's definitely the end of an era.
Prospect
sure.
pool is definitely wearing thin. Draft capital's wearing thin. So you really can't force yourself into being that aggressive at the deadlines anymore, because you just don't have the same assets to offer that some of the other teams do. So yeah, I don't think a lot of people were expecting Tampa to make another deep push this year. They lost in the first round last year too, so it's kind of the end. I think. I don't know if I'll say that they'll definitely miss the playoffs or anything next year. Like, we still got a long ways to go before we're looking at that, but I'd say it was pretty successful though.
Yeah, it was a good run for them, for sure. But
you really can't be too upset if you're a Lightning fan. Like, they finally, had success with Stamkos after he had injuries earlier on in his career that kept him out at critical times, and it looked like, oh, maybe they're just not going to be able to do it after they lost in 2015, and then they break through in the bubble.
I feel like every year was like, don't count out Tampa. It's like, even if they don't look good, it's like once they hit the playoffs, they like find another gear. But yeah, looking at cap friendly, let me list any of the players that have the red arrow, which means it's extended beyond beyond the 28-29 season.
Oh,
You have Braden Point, 29-30. Anthony Cirelli, 30-31. Nick Paul, 28-29. Um, Brandon Hagel, 31-32.
Hmm.
Mikhail Sergachev, 30-31. And Eric Chernak, 30-31. So that's one,
Wow.
two, three, four, five, six players signed long term.
Chernak to 30-31. I wouldn't expect that far out for him.
Yeah. I mean, these are all like 5.2, 8.5, 6.5, 6.25, 9.5 for point. The lowest is 3.15 for Nick Paul. And these players are like late 20s, so
That I feel like the Nick Paul one is probably a pretty good
yeah, that's
contract for
not
the
too
team,
much.
but yeah, that it's tough to maneuver around those when you have that many long term deals. If the team isn't working out, like isn't successful, like if they are, which they historically have been, like that type of structure can work because you're spreading the wealth around a lot more um, than some of these other teams. Obviously, the Maple Leafs being the primary example of that. Well, not
Yeah, and as
doing that.
far as Stamkos goes, I think he stays with the Lightning unless they like really try to lowball him for whatever reason, and he's like, he's just over it. But I feel like they'll find a middle ground in I don't know 1 or 2 year or just some shorter term contract. But I mean, unless of course he wants to be done.
Yeah.
But
Imagine if he went to Florida. Like he just played in Florida his whole career, but he just plays for the Panthers instead. That would be like sacrilege. Like if the Panthers got like another deep run but didn't win this year, and they're like, okay, we got to make a big splash this offseason. We shed some of our UFAs. Why don't we make a push? He probably doesn't have to move that far. Like, he likes it in the area already. He's played against the Panthers a bunch, so he probably knows a lot of these guys.
Mhm.
I mean,
The,
it's just
the other thing I wanted to talk about, one of the other eliminated teams and potential retirement is EJ Oshie with the Capitals.
mm-hmm.
I don't know if you saw him talking about like when his back goes out that he's in such pain that he is literally on the floor peeing in water bottles
Yeah, I
and
saw
he can't
that.
pick up his kids either until he sees his doctor for a fix. It's like for your own sake, like it's time to retire. Like
Yeah,
I think he's gonna be 38, which is like he's just a person who just doesn't age.
I know,
Like
I know. It is pretty remarkable. That he still looks so young.
he turns 38 in December.
Yeah, I think it's just one of those things. It's like, oh man, you don't want to give up on the dream, and you're still having so much fun with all your, you're playing with all your friends that you've been playing with for a long time, and
All his
you still,
long-term health issues
yeah,
though.
it's like at some point you gotta know when to hang it up so you can, yeah, provide for your family and your kids and stuff when you're, in your 40s and 50s rather than, you know, risking something serious.
Yeah, and he was another player that kind of lingered on the ice after that elimination.
Mm-hmm.
And he also was asked about his future, and he said, "It would be hard for me to ever say for sure that I'm stepping away from the game. I'd love to play next year, but I will need to come back with somewhat of a guarantee that my back will be okay." Which I don't know if you can get that guarantee, but even like fans of the Caps and like Oshie fans are like, "We love you, but like please retire.
Yeah.
It's for your own good."
Yeah, we don't want to see you, push yourself for one more season and then maybe have like a bad injury or whatever, and that's kind of just how it ends.
Yeah,
It's
and I
just
mean,
not the
he's
best
won the
way to go.
cup. He's played 1,000 games. Like he's kind of done it all. Like I feel like he can retire happy.
Yeah, I think a lot of fans would be happy for him and would respect his decision.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll see about any other retirements. These were announced a little while ago, but just briefly throw them in there since we're talking about it. Francouz, so we had mentioned that he was gonna be looking at probably retiring due to the injuries, and that was confirmed. So a little short stint in the NHL for Francouz, but he was pretty solid while he played. So Tough for that one. And then Jeff Carter and Jacob Silverberg both retiring as well. So long time players, both played against each other quite a bit, LA and Anaheim. So good send-offs for them.
Wishing them all well.
Yep. So that's it for the other series. So we do know the Rangers and the Hurricanes will be playing each other, and the Panthers will be playing winner of Boston Toronto, and which that is now going to Game 6 tomorrow in Toronto. Dean, thoughts?
Yay! I'm so happy.
Yeah, me too.
Well, so we were up 3-1, and then we weren't. We went in, or Toronto came into Boston last night, and we played terrible. We we looked like we were jittery. The ice was bad, I think, because the puck was bouncing all over the place. Obviously, that's not an excuse. You're playing on the same ice as the other team, but puck was bouncing all over the place. They were just kind of like fanning on passes and shots, and like you could tell they were kind of gripping the sticks a little tight. After the first period, the shots were, I think we had two shots uh, on net. Luckily, we happened to get a goal out of that because weird play in the boards kind of deflected the puck in front of the net, and Frederick got it and scored. So we somehow got out of the first, tied 1-1, getting severely outplayed. The second period, not much better, still tied going into the third. We started to show a little bit of more energy, I guess, in the third period. Had some decent scoring chances. Still tied, went to overtime. Lost pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Should also mention that Matthews didn't play in this game.
He did
So
not.
Toronto came into Boston, no Matthews, still won. Also, last year against Florida when we were up 3-1, we lost Game 5, also in overtime.
Yeah.
So, obviously I'm really hoping we can win tomorrow. The
Yeah.
players all say, like, Marchand got asked before Game 5 about being up 3-1 and last year, and he's like, this isn't last year. Like, next, like, he like pours like next question. But like, you should assume that they're mentally tough enough to like have that out of their minds, but that those thoughts creep in when they can't close a game, and
Yeah.
especially if they go to Game 7, I imagine it's going to be someone on their minds, no matter how much mental fortitude you have. I feel like
No
after
doubt.
what happened last year, going to another Game 7 after being up 3-1, they're going to be thinking about it. And
Yeah.
so you have the history of what happened last year with Boston. You have the history of it's happened twice where Boston, Toronto, it's been 3-1. Toronto won the next two, and Boston won 7. So there's like, one side has to break, but I don't know. And after the Bruins went up 3-1, all the Toronto fans were saying it's over and fire everyone, and then because Toronto didn't play well in that game.
Yeah. No.
The other thing I'll say is we switched up the lines for Game 5, which was something that Monty got criticized for last year.
Yeah.
So I don't know, again, like why you're doing that when you're winning. You keep things the same. That's
I
why
don't
we
get
kept
it.
Swayman in, because you were winning with Swayman, so you kept him in. I don't know why you would take out John Beecher, the fourth line center, who was the only one winning faceoffs, because that was like our issue. So take him out. I get bringing Brazeau in because he was hurt and he was good in the regular season leading up to the playoffs. But messing with the defense too, it's like, I don't know, we're just overthinking it again. Just play our game.
Yeah.
But with that said, I guess they'll probably go with Olmark Game 6 and then Swayman Game 7, which I've been saying since before the series began. It's going 7. When it was
Yeah.
3-1, I was still saying it's going 7, and everyone called me crazy. But here we are. By the time you're hearing this, it'll probably be over the series.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be
Hopefully,
over.
hopefully it'll be good for the Bruins, and I will be happy. But
Yeah.
We will see. So that's all my thoughts quickly jumbled out. Um, as a lesser Bruins fan, do you have any other thoughts besides what I just said?
Uh, I loved listening, so it was interesting to hear your take, but um, I just I'm just nervous,
Hmm.
and I don't like that. I don't like that. I am hoping that you know they just really focus on game six and shutting up the home crowd. Like what they have to do is they have to make sure that Toronto gets absolutely no momentum to start game six, because if they get
I want them to be
anything,
booed again.
yeah, exactly, like they need to come out swinging in the first period. And I'm not talking swinging, I'm talking like two or three goals. Like you really gotta just pounce early, or at least get high danger chances, or get some power plays. Like you just have to make sure that Toronto chases that game early, and if you do that, you frustrate them. I think they're gonna like realize like that they're on the ropes, and that'll be it. If they come out of that game and lose and go to Boston, oh man, I don't know. It's just so tough. Like, do they have one more magical game seven clutch in them? I don't know.
I don't know either.
Hopefully, we don't have
Um,
to find out.
yeah. And the other thing was, I mean, not to blame the refs because even if the Bruins had shown more effort, I might have been more mad at the refs. But no matter what happened with the refing, the Bruins weren't winning this game or didn't deserve to win it the way they played. But there were definitely times where Marchand's stick was held and all this stuff, and it didn't get called. So again, you go back and wonder if what Sheldon Keefe said like had any impact. But normally that type of stuff only lasts one game, so maybe if that
Yeah,
it's called in game six and we can go back to scoring on our 50% power play, that could be the difference.
yeah,
Um,
that would be nice.
and then we also briefly touched on Matthews missing game five because he was pulled in game four in the third period by the team doctor. And I mean, originally the thought was illness and people were talking about food poisoning, but now we're not sure because I don't think food poisoning or an illness you'd get pulled out by the doctor. Um, so I sent you this link. Someone on Reddit pointed out um, from a game that, or where is the link? Oh, here it is. Um, this game against the Red Wings on April 13th, where Matthews gets tripped up and goes like head first or hits his head really hard on the boards. And like concussion symptoms are weird with like post concussion syndrome and all that, where like he could have felt maybe a little groggy, but like overall felt fine. And then whatever, 3 weeks later, be getting migraines and things like that and be held out. Um, so
It was a nasty hit too. Like you
yeah,
just saw how quickly like his head snapped after he like made contact with the wall, and you're just like, oh god. I saw somebody in the comments. I was looking to see if anybody like else noticed, and someone was like, what was that? Like, oh my god, that is not good. Like, is nobody else talking about this?
yeah.
Because yeah, I don't remember hearing about that at the time, but I'm not in Leafs media like all the time. I kind of try to not get that much of it. I see some, but
Yeah, whether you want to or not, you're going to get it. So you might as well just not seek out additional.
I get plenty without trying. Exactly.
Yeah.
So either way, we'll see what happens for the game tomorrow. I haven't heard anything about if they know if he's gonna play. I know before Game 5, he like took ice very briefly
Like
for
5 minutes.
practice, and then he left. So he was at least gonna try, and whatever it was that was holding him out was still
Yeah, my only
lingering.
other theory is like if it's some injury that could get worse if he plays, like either, I mean, if it's something that could get worse, but like surgery can fix it fully, it's like one thing, I guess. But if it's something that could cause long-term problems, and I'm sure the team would obviously take the like missing him for these playoffs and have him healthy long term over.
Protect the asset. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. They'd rather have a long term healthy Matthews and potentially have him miss out on this playoff run. So we will see what happens tomorrow. I'm sure we won't hear until warm ups. Like even if he skates or not, and not in the morning, he's been taking maintenance days and been playing, so we won't know for a while. That is that series.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we'll actually I was gonna say something, but we'll hold off until we know for sure who's playing who in the second round. So let's move on. We'll go to Nashville Vancouver series is heading to Game 6 back in Nashville tomorrow, I believe. So Nashville staves off elimination at Vancouver, and I think that was last night. So now they're going into Smashville for Game 6. Should be pretty raucous. I also heard that Morgan Wallen is playing on that weekend too. So they're like, yeah, the crowd is gonna be like peak Nashville Predators, peak Nashville fans. So what do you think about the series?
This is another one I feel like a lot of people expected to go. Well, I don't know. There were two groups of people. There were the people that like this is going 7, and then there were people that just underestimated the Predators. I might have been one of them. I don't remember what I said a couple weeks ago. I don't think I definitely didn't think it would go 7, but I expect Vancouver to win. I also didn't expect them to go to their third string goalie. I forget where we were on the goalie saga last week. If it was just one injury,
it was just, I think it was just
just
DeSmith at that point. Who
DeSmith not injured.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now he's injured.
Yeah, so Artur Silovs plays, and he's 1-1 now, winning Game 4 and losing Game 5. So I think he's still gonna be in net tomorrow. Maybe DeSmith comes back. I didn't know what the timetable was for him.
If he's healthy, do you put him back in?
Well, I feel like no, just because like Silovs only allowed 2 goals in the loss.
2 goals on 22 shots, though.
Yeah.
This whole series has been low shooting.
Yeah, it has been. The Canucks won that game with only 11 shots.
Yeah, and the Canucks, the overtime win. Oh, we didn't talk about that either. They won, or had 4 goals on 21 shots.
Oh yeah.
That comeback was crazy. They were down 3-1 or 3. Yeah, 3-1, right?
I think so. Yeah.
With 2 or 3 minutes left, pulled the goalie, scored 2 goals with their goalie pulled. The second one coming with 6 seconds left, and then go into overtime and score like almost right away.
Yeah, and Sissons hits the post on the empty netter, which would have sealed it. Yep. So that was really tough. When I saw that, I knew. Like I was watching that game, I'm like, no, dude, no.
Ice tilt.
Because I really don't want the Canucks to win. I am not a fan. So
I'm rooting for them.
I'm rooting against them for sure.
And Besser with a hat trick going into overtime. He got all 3 of the regulation goals.
Yeah, that's a tough one to swallow for Nashville fans if they don't end up winning this series. So they gotta make it close, push it Game 7. We will see what happens with that one. But
yeah, like you said, the other game they won 2 goals on 12 shots to win 2-1.
Yeah, wow. That is crazy. Lots of blocked shots by both teams.
Yep. And then the final series, which is actually happening right now, Oilers Kings is tied 1-1 after 1. Edmonton leads 3-1. Do you think this wraps up tonight?
Yeah, I think so. LA's like shown that they can make things close, but I feel like this time it's just Edmonton. They just have the momentum. I think they're just gonna be able to get it done tonight.
Yeah, I think so too.
they've shown up the last couple of games in a big way. So yeah, I think they're ready to go, and they're hoping that the Preds series goes to 7, so they buy themselves like a little bit of time.
I just realized that Alex Laferriere is very similar to Alexis
Alexis
Lafreniere.
Lafreniere, yeah. Yep.
Um,
Lafreniere.
yeah, he's got his first of the playoffs.
Oh.
But yeah, I think it wraps up tonight. I'd also like to say that last night I predicted all 4 winning teams. I put a $1 on a parlay, came out with $12.
Ooh, big money.
Yeah, big spender.
That's not bad though.
Yeah. I mean, I wish I was wrong and the Bruins had won, but
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
what are you gonna do?
There were 4 potential elimination games last night.
Yeah, I think it'll go 50-50.
Yep, and it did. 50-50.
But yeah, I think Oilers end it tonight.
We won't know, hopefully, by the end of the episode, because it's late for me, but this was the only time we were able to hop on to record, so it is what it is. Anything else you want to talk about with the NHL playoffs? There's plenty of things we could talk about, I'm sure, but
Yeah. Oh, well, I'm sure some other stuff might come up, but those are the big key points, team by team.
yeah.
I don't think of any like overarching storylines, but like I feel like last year or the year before, there was complaints about the refs like throughout like every single game. But this year, I haven't heard too much of it. I mean, obviously, you're getting complained about the refs more because they're big games, but and the refs will call less in the playoffs. But I feel like there haven't been like super egregious missed calls or anything this year that have led to like swaying who wins a game.
No, I know there's been some like controversial goals and stuff that have been scored.
Oh, I guess we can talk about in Tampa, that game they got eliminated. There were 2 goals taken off the board for goal interference that Tampa, well, almost scored, I guess.
Yeah.
And then John Cooper had some choice words after the fact about those calls, and clearly, obviously, wasn't happy.
No.
But I think both of those were goalie interference, so I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. I don't know if I saw both of them. I think I saw the Duclair one, which seemed pretty obvious. The other one was, I think, the Sorelli goal. Well, that wasn't a goal. But yeah, that was. I mean, it's a tough break, but they really. I don't know if that was the entire reason that they lost. Obviously, 2 goals is big, but.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have enough.
Duclair was like in the paint,
info.
and his right skate basically hit Bobrovsky's leg, arm, stick, like everything. While the puck was going to net. And then the second one, Sorelli's also in the paint. He's trying to like spin around, like they're having like a net front battle, and he spins between the defender and the goalie into the crease as a shot gets taken again. And, like his body's like up against Bobrovsky's glove. So I mean, I don't know. I think most people thought it was pretty clear. Well, except maybe Tampa fans.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know.
Them's
If you're
the
in the
bricks.
crease, it's like if you willingly go into the crease, it's pretty hard to argue.
Yeah, I mean, and that's how, like, maybe some people are just upset with how goaltender interference is defined, but that's really not, like, an issue for right now. Like, you can be upset at it, but that's how the penalty is called right now. That's the definition that we have, so maybe, if next year, if they change the rule book, change some of the definitions or what a player's allowed to do as far as being in the crease, But I don't know if that's like a big target for the league right now. You don't really hear too much outcry for that being changed, I don't think.
Right. All right. That's all I got for now.
All right. Also, mentioned the ECHL playoffs. I went to Game 6. Me, Bree, and Gifford went, and they unfortunately lost 2-1 or 1-2 to Maine. So in Game 6, it was a tough one to lose. It felt like they had a lot of chances. The refs kind of screwed them in the first period. Well, for most of the game, it felt like they weren't getting the right calls, which was too bad. But they played again tonight. I wasn't able to go because they were playing while Vegas was playing, so kind of had to prioritize. And they ended up winning. They got a 2-0 shutout, so they are moving on to round 2 to face the Norfolk Admirals, not Admirables, on Friday and Saturday. So they are the 1 seed as well, so they're the higher seeded team. So yeah, games 1 and 2 at home. But I don't think I'll be able to go to either of those games because Vegas is going to also play on Friday, and then I'm out of town on Saturday. So I'll only be able to go to potentially games 6 or 7 if they go that far.
We also have the AHL playoffs underway.
Yeah.
Providence Bruins are in there, down 1-0 in the series against the Hartford Wolfpack.
I know the Belleville Senators beat the Marlies. The Toronto Marlies, and there was some rough stuff in that one during the handshake line. Kyle Clifford was like trying to initiate something with Boko Imama.
Yeah, did you hear the announcers this just despicable?
Yeah, I mean you have to respect the handshake line like that. You just don't do that.
Yeah.
So for a former NHL player, that's a tough look to see, especially for a younger kid. Maybe Imama's like 26 or so, but he's played a couple NHL games. He played with Arizona for a year, and he was with Ottawa for a little bit of time this year. So we'll see how they do. Henderson is not in the AHL playoffs this year, so I don't really have a dog in the race for that one. Maybe Rochester, I guess, just for
Root for
Buffalo.
Coachella Valley because they're cool.
There you go. Yeah, I could. I was rooting for them last year when they were playing the Bears in the finals, but that didn't end up coming to fruition, unfortunately. I think they lost Game 7. Sam would know. He was rooting for the Bears. Obviously, he's a Caps fan. He said he got into the Caps because of the Bears run too. So you never know. It's fun to watch the AHL teams. A little more intimate experience. A little more local feeling.
Yeah. While we're talking about different leagues and playoffs, the PWHL playoffs will start May 8th, and Toronto and Montreal have both clinched already. But no one has locked up number 1. It's just Toronto and Montreal have locked up the top 2 because they're just well above the other 2.
Yeah.
I think Ottawa had a chance to clinch a spot last night, but then lost in New York.
Way to go, New York. Just plain spoiler.
Yeah. So we still have
Boston.
by next week we should have an idea of what teams have made it at the PWHL.
Pretty cool. And they have the thing where the number 1, like the first seeded team, will pick their opponent between the 3rd and the 4th seed. So
That's cool. That's fun.
So that'll be cool. And we already know that the games are going to be played at Coca-Cola Arena, which is where the Marlies play for the Toronto series, and then Montreal is going to play where the Laval Rocket play, which is the AHL affiliate for Montreal. So that'll be cool. And I think Montreal has already played in the the Rockets arena a couple of games, and I think they sold it out one time too. So yeah, that should be fun. Well, I'm sure the playoffs will draw really well, just based off of how the regular season went, especially with likely there being all three of the Canadian teams in it. Maybe New York and Boston and Minnesota aren't drawing the same. Well, probably Minnesota's doing all right, but I'd say probably New York was probably the lowest attendance because they kind of bounced around a little bit, and obviously they had the worst team this year. So
Yeah.
well, maybe that's yet to be determined,
Sure.
but probably.
Okay. I lied. I had one more playoff thing, but it's quick. For your
It's playoffs.
playoff bracket that you made, I guess I could probably find it, but I am assuming so far all your team picks are correct, like the 4 teams.
No, I picked
Yeah.
the Jets.
Oh, okay.
So that one's a no-go for me. And one of my brackets I did pick the Islanders.
Oh, so me, Gifford, and my dad are the 3 that have perfect brackets still. Well, perfect as in for ESPN, you don't have
Games.
games played.
Yeah.
So. Okay, that was all.
Thank you for the update on that one.
You're welcome.
You know what? I got one more thing too. Actually, just wanted to throw it in there that in Vegas's game tonight, Chandler Stevenson got called for a penalty for a face-off violation, playing the puck with his hand, like using it to swat the puck back. So they called.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say.
that.
I do remember that. I thought you were gonna say like when the first player gets kicked out and the second one jumps. I thought
No,
they
not
got called
that
for that.
one.
I'm like, no way, you never see that.
No, you never see that in the regular season, so that would be crazy.
A playoff like a power play. Could you
Yeah.
imagine?
That would be insane. So not that crazy, but yeah, it was pretty. I was like, wow, there was no argument from me. Like that's definitely what happened. He definitely did that. So good on the refs for finding that, but that's a tough one to watch. As the penalized fan, it's like, oh man. And that the Thunder had some weird penalties like that too. They had a weird delay of game, and then they called them for. It wasn't too many men. There was like some other like weird penalty that they called on them that was like so ticky tack, and just like, oh man, those are the worst kind, especially when the other team's been like, getting away with holds and trips and stuff that are it seems like so obvious, but yeah, happens, especially at home. You're like looking for stuff, looking for any way to get some momentum.
That's playoff.
Playoffs.
Put a bow on it. Till next week. Do you want to talk about the different finalists announced? We got the Vezina, the Calder, and the North. So the Vezina, there were 2 that made sense, and the third one was kind of surprising. We had Hellebuck, Demko, and Bobrovsky. Hellebuck, I mentioned earlier, feels surefire to win it. Again, unless you count playoffs, which you're not supposed to. Because I think just one is that the GMs vote on. So the whole joke is that they just look at like wins and they're like, yep, that goalie was good this year. But yeah,
right.
I think Hellebuck's a lock. Demko obviously played well. Sucks that he got hurt, but there's a chance he can come back if Vancouver can win this. And then
Right.
Bobrovsky, he's been playing great in the playoffs, but this isn't a playoff award. He was fine in the regular season.
I just looked up his stats because I was curious. 237 goals against, .915 save percentage in 58 games played in the regular season. His playoff numbers are actually, I would say, considerably worse.
Yeah, but I guess he had like bigger save. Like there were more high danger chances that he had to rob.
Yeah. He's got .978 and a .896 save percentage.
It's actually
In the
not too
playoffs.
different than Hellebuck this year was 2.39 goals against and a 921 save percentage.
Mm.
And 870 in the playoffs this year. 5.23 goals against.
What a collapse, man. Oh, we already touched on it, but that's so tough. Like, I don't know how you can come back from that next year.
I'll mention Demko's stats too, since he's there. 245 goals against and 918. So they're all pretty similar.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I feel like they'll lean towards Hellebuck because of the Jennings and just some of the stretches that the team had with, like that long stretch they had of allowing what was it, two or fewer goals, or was it 3?
Yeah, I think it was 3 or less.
Yeah. So that probably.
I mean, you could
will
also
play a
make the
factor.
argument that Winnipeg was a good defensively, so their goalie didn't have to be as good. But I don't know. I don't think
Also true.
we might be overthinking it.
Yeah, I mean, we don't even know how much thought the voters put into it.
Sure.
Could just be like, ooh, my favorite player.
Yeah.
Move on to Calder.
Yep. No surprise we have Bedard there and Brock Faber. Both were kind of the whole discussion this year, especially, well, if Connor Bedard didn't get hurt, there probably would be less of discussion, but Brock Faber was playing really well. And with Bedard missing time, there was a debate of who was going to win the Calder, but I think it's Bedard's to lose. And then they just threw in Luke Hughes as the third, further behind. I mean, he had a good season too, but I feel like it's kind of
It was
the
a
top
two-dog
tier.
race.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think it's Bedard.
I think they'll give it to Bedard, too. I mean,
You have
he
to.
had a really special year. It's tough, I'm sure, for Minnesota fans who feel like Faber did not get the recognition that he deserved this year. They kind of seem to be a team that gets a little bit overlooked, but yeah, I don't know. I just can't see them not giving it to Bedard, especially after coming back from the injury and still performing really well, and with how bad the Hawks were compared to the Wild. Bedard was a huge part of why they got anywhere close to the number of wins that they got this season. So that's probably going to be the ultimate factor. Not as interesting as the well, let's go. Yeah, we'll go to the Norris. Makar, Yossi, Quinn Hughes. I think those are all pretty good picks for this year.
Yep.
It's tough. I mean, I feel like Makar did have such a monster year, again, but it's so did Yossi and so did Quinn Hughes. I feel like Quinn Hughes was talked about a lot at the beginning of the year. He was the first player, I think, to reach 30 points, or was that maybe Pedersen? Or maybe he had a defenseman accolade that was something like that.
It was something like that with Quinn Hughes.
Yeah. So he had a really strong start. Cooled off a little bit in the middle, maybe, but he still ended really, really strong. He just continues to break records for Vancouver defensemen and for young defensemen in general. So I feel
Looked
like
up Quinn
maybe they'll
Hughes'
lean towards him.
first 2 to see if I could find it. I found he was the first Canuck to be nominated for the Norris and is looking to become the 4th U.S.-born player to win the award.
Oh.
Not what I was looking for, but a fun stat.
Yeah, that's fun. I don't know.
Oh, no, yeah, first defenseman. to be the first NHL player to reach 30 points in a season since Bobby Orr in 1974-75.
There we go. That's what it was. Okay, so I got that right.
There you go. Good job.
I'm actually pretty surprised. I did not have that on the rip.
Yeah, it is kind of weird wording, so someone in the comments decided to reword it. Quinn Hughes is the first player in the league to reach the 30-point mark. The last time this was achieved by a defenseman was Bobby Orr.
Yeah. That
The
makes
first defenseman to be the first NHL player too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little wordy.
So who are you picking?
I was hoping I could piggyback off yours and just pick somebody else, like pick one of the other two. I feel like my gut says they'll give it to Hughes.
That's also my pick. I feel like with Makar, you might already have some voter fatigue. Like,
I know, which
he's
is
so
like
good.
insane, but I do think it's true.
My other theory, so they're all pretty close on points. Makar, he played 77 games. Yossi and Hughes both played the whole 82. Makar had 90 points, Yossi had 85, and Hughes had 92. So all pretty similar. But then you know what they're going to look at next for stats? The most important stat that tells you everything about a player that you need to know. Plus minus.
Plus minus.
Makar was plus 15. Yossi was plus 12. Hughes was plus 38. Elite defenseman.
Whoa.
So yeah, I think they give it to him, even though he had the least goals of the three. At 17. 75 assists for Hughes.
Yeah, I mean, 70, like, that's really good for, any player. So, I mean, I guess you probably don't see forwards hitting that number as often as you do defensemen, but I don't know, maybe.
Unless they're hitting 100, which apparently is a thing.
Apparently it's this thing, yeah, that multiple players today can do. Yeah, so that's what we know so far. We still got some other trophies to have the finalists announced. I don't think the Jack Adams was announced either, the finalists for that, but there were some votes. And then we'll see what the other ones are, Lady Bing and Hart and all that jazz. We've got, I don't know what the timetable is. They kind of just been like releasing them every day or so.
Yeah. Also, we got an update on the Kings-Oilers game.
Just
the
wondering.
Kings are up 2-1 now.
Kings are?
Yep, 5 minutes into the second period.
Okay.
Blake Lizotte, first of the playoffs as well for him.
Wow. Those are not the star-studded guys that they have.
That's how you win games. Depth scoring.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely true. Oilers have had that for most of this series, I feel like. Hyman has been unreal, just like he was in the regular season. I think he's already got 6 goals, maybe 7.
All just like off his stick from McDavid, like right in front of the net. The other thing we didn't talk about in that series was they won Game 4 1-0, which is like not what you would expect from the Oilers. Like you expect the Kings to win a 1-0 game.
It definitely.
Also, it was on 13 shots.
It's been
lots
weird.
of low shot games, but yeah, Oilers I guess they can like win 7-6 games and they can win 1-0 games apparently.
Apparently,
so.
yeah, like that wasn't
Kind of scary
really
that they can do that.
That wasn't really the story for them in the regular season. Like, they weren't winning those types of games, but if they can win those in the playoffs, like, yeah, that is huge. So hopefully for them, they find a way to get back into this one tonight and just get her done.
Yeah, we will keep you updated as long as we can.
Yep, right. How about some coaching news? So, Hakstol is officially out as head coach of the Seattle Kraken after 3 seasons as the inaugural coach. Which, I don't know. I think some fans were sort of split on it as far as how they felt about him being let go, but part of it, and we'll sort of lump these a little bit together because they're semi-related, is the latest chatter on Brindamore with Hurricanes, because he's not signed to next year, is that talks have sort of soured and that they might not meet an agreement, and Brindamore will go somewhere else. So the thought process was kind of, well, they were together. Ron Francis and Brindamore were together in Carolina, so maybe Brindamore gets poached by Seattle and regroups there, which would be a bit of a shock, I think.
Yeah, I mean, if they wait a couple of weeks, there's probably gonna be plenty of coaches to choose from.
I know
I mean, people were talking about Sheldon Keefe.
There's a plethora.
Even if they lose Game 6, Sheldon Keefe's probably still fired. If they lose Game 7, probably still fired. If they win the first round, might still get fired.
Yeah. It's just not enough.
Hot seat would be an understatement.
Yeah, and there's quite the pool of potential head coaches right now too. So we'll see what happens there. I think the Seattle firing was maybe they needed a little bit more time with Hakstol. A lot of people were like, okay, Seattle kind of overachieved a little bit last season when they made the playoffs, and maybe they shouldn't have expected the same thing this year, so they kind of regressed a little bit. They've still got young, talented players in the pipeline. We haven't seen much of Shane Wright in the NHL yet, so still got some guys to come up, but we'll see who they hire and how things go.
Yeah, and the other thing on that, on Monday, Emily Kaplan reported that several of the Kraken players voiced their displeasure with him during their exit interviews.
Yeah, true.
So that could have been a factor as well.
Yeah, I think he's not a player's coach, so we'll see if that's the kind of guy they bring in. And I feel like Brindamore is sort of touted as one of those guys a lot of the time. I'm sure he can get heated or whatever. All these head coaches do. You gotta know when to get angry at your guys, but probably more so than like Lindy Ruff or whoever who just got hired by Buffalo. Like, not the same archetype, I guess. So yeah, there's gonna be a lot of storylines for head coaching going into the off season here. We'll see if anybody else gets fired after the playoffs.
What do you think of some of these longer term coaches like John Cooper, Mike Sullivan, teams? Well, I mean, Tampa Bay made the playoffs but were out in the first round, and then the Penguins obviously didn't make it, but they've been on those teams for a long time.
I think I wouldn't really blame this year's failures for the Lightning on Cooper, but I feel like I could see like that for Sullivan. I feel like there were a lot of talks during the regular season with how he was, tackling it, as far as some of the lineup decisions and the power play just struggling for a majority of the year, that it was time for a change. So I would probably vote for Sullivan gone and Cooper at least sticks around for one more season and then sort of evaluate from there.
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't know. Is that kind of where your head was at?
Yeah, I mean, I could see him moving on from Cooper too. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like time for a change, especially if, again, well, depending what happens with Stamkos, or just like if you're kind of moving on from your core and moving on to like the future of whatever that is in Tampa, you might want a new coach for that. Because I mean, there's been coaches fired where it's not their fault what happened with the team.
Right.
It's just like time for a fresh voice kind of thing. So I could see it happening, but I do think it's more likely to happen with Pittsburgh than it is Tampa.
Yeah, I feel like Pittsburgh is closer to the retooling stages than Tampa at least thinks that they are. So yeah, maybe if like Brisebois wants to get ahead of this a little bit, and he decides that he wants to, make some more radical changes. That's yeah. You start with a new coach too, and get the chemistry with the new core sort of developed early. But again, a little early to be talking about that, and we'll have the draft and we'll have free agency and plenty of stuff when we'll know where these teams are headed. Where management thinks they are, how competitive they could be.
Yep. You wanted to talk about Shaq and Charles Barkley talking about hockey on TNT the other night?
Yeah, they've been on like a couple of times, and it's just kind of refreshing to see some of these guys that are, very clearly not originally from the hockey sphere, like actually talking about hockey. I know Charles Barkley has been an advocate for the NHL for like the last couple of years, and nice to see Shaq coming on too. He's not as knowledgeable, I would say, for sure, but he's fun, and I'm sure just having those guys on brings a lot of people that maybe have only watched the NBA or have watched NBA and NFL or what have you. At least take a look and see what those guys are talking about, because they have a lot of media attention with how big they are in the basketball world and even outside basketball, I feel like.
Yeah. Did you see on TNT when Paul Bissonnette was talking about how the Bruins were rattled going into, I think it was going into game 4,
Mm,
and Leafs in 6 or whatever, um and he was obviously very wrong about that game,
yeah.
and they had like the picture of him after with like the clown makeup.
I
I don't know. I
don't
can
know
probably
if I
find
saw the
picture.
picture of it, but that's
Yeah,
pretty good.
but yeah, they have fun.
And
Sometimes I feel bad for like Gretzky. He's like, I don't want to deal with this, or like
yeah,
Lundqvist, or
I feel like
some of those
Gretzky
guys.
hasn't been there this playoffs though. I don't think I've seen
Yeah,
him.
no, I haven't either.
And the Bissonnette and McHugh have the bet going with which like teams between the Leafs and the Islanders will make it further in the playoffs, and if there's like they have like punishments. I think Biz gets the Islanders tattoo and Liam McHugh gets the Leafs tattoo. There's like some other punishments, but if they both lose in the first round or they both go the same, which yeah, it would have to be the first round now, since the Islanders are out, then I think the fans choose. So we'll see if that happens. If the fans decide on punishments for these guys, that'll be fun.
Well, he had to what do you have to do before, like shave his head or something? He lost
Oh
some bet in the past too.
yeah, yeah. I think it was shave his head or shave something. Getting rid of something that's supposed to be on your head or on your body.
Yeah, he shaved. He had to shave like the top of it, like the old man look.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
There was a Oilers Flames bet.
Oh right, right. Was that for the playoffs or for the Heritage Classic?
Mm,
It's probably playoffs.
yeah. It was if the Oilers went deeper in the playoffs than the Flames.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and then if the Flames went deeper than the Oilers, Ryan Whitney had to get a Barry Bonds earring for a month.
That's pretty good. Yeah, I feel like a lot of buzz on Twitter has been that fans are a lot happier with like the TNT broadcast than they are with the ESPN ones and the Sportsnet ones. Like the TNT crew is just like leaps and bounds better than any of the other broadcast groups. Have you
Yeah.
felt the same way?
I mean, I don't really watch the intermissions. I normally use that time to like go shower or whatever.
Yeah, I kind of do the same thing too. Sometimes.
So I don't really have a take. I guess when I've watched it, I've been definitely more entertained by TNT because it's different than what I've seen a million times over and over from NBC or again now ESPN or everything else.
Yeah. Yeah. Um. Of course, the commercials and stuff. Everybody's always talking about that too. The ones that they keep airing, but I feel like that's always going to be a discussion because the leagues are always doing that. All these streaming services play like 5 ads on a loop every commercial.
Yeah. Oh, did you see the ad? I just saw it for the first time. The Vegas one, the guy who gets a tattoo.
Yeah, I've seen that one a couple of times.
Yeah.
That one's not too bad. He gets the Stanley Cup 2019 Vegas tattoo.
Yeah. Oilers tie it with a top liner, Leon Draisaitl, fourth goal,
I've heard of
power
him.
play goal. McDavid's 10th assist of the series.
Jeez. In Game 5?
Yeah.
Wow.
Evan Bouchard's 6th assist.
He's pretty good.
Yeah. So again, a 2-2 game. The shots are 11-13.
Wow, yeah. How deep into
playoff
the,
hockey?
How deep into the second are we?
We're halfway through.
Should be a good one. I don't think I'll be able to stay up for the conclusion, unfortunately.
Hey, but at least my prediction was wrong that the Golden Knights game didn't go to overtime, so we didn't have to record it like
That was
we're recording now.
the one silver lining. I was like, well,
Yeah.
okay, at least we got this over with.
Yep.
I still would have preferred, I think, ultimately, to have them win and go to bed at like 2 a.m. or whatever, but
Sure. Yeah.
it's a bonus, I guess.
All right, you added this jersey. Well, I don't know if it's a jersey foul, if it's an actual player wearing it. Jersey misprint.
Yeah, kind of. I don't know how this happened, but yeah, Chandler Stevenson's secondary logos on his shoulder patches, the swords crossed were placed incorrectly. They were, I think they were tilted 90 degrees for what they're supposed to be.
See, I don't know the jersey well enough to know what it's supposed to look like.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I see the reverse retro, the red one, the front crest. I assume that's what it should look like. So
Yep.
the two swords are like that.
Mm-hmm.
But in this picture, yeah, they're going up. I see.
Yeah. So that's just a funny thing that somebody caught on to.
That's funny, like how you even know, like,
I know.
like, oh, wait a minute, something doesn't look right. Like I never would have noticed that.
It's like I don't remember what player it was. It was maybe Jarvis or Aho, one of the Canes players. I think this was last season. Their Hurricane logo was upside down, which like that one in particular is so hard to tell because it's like
Yeah.
it's basically symmetrical, but I think like the black on the inner part is on top for the logo, but it was just like flipped for some reason. So it's funny when people catch stuff like that, especially when you see it like on TV. Like it's so you really don't get that like close up look most of the time. So kudos to that guy who saw that. I just thought that was funny, and it's always interesting when those little equipment malfunctions happen. As long as they're not anything serious, you know.
Yeah. All right.
That was a good one.
Shall we end this with a voicemail?
I think we shall.
All right.
Let's hear from
Here
our
we
friend.
go.
Hey guys, it's Matt, your 2024 hat trick champion. Thanks again, Dean, for that. The main reason I called is to comment on the last week's podcast. Brett had mentioned Nico Sturm possibly had the highest face-off win percentage in the regular season. So as an analytics guy, I had to look into it. If we only count players that have at least 100 face-offs this season, Michael McLeod would finish first with 65%. Unfortunately, he was involved in the Hockey Canada incident, so let's not talk too much about him. Jeff Carter would be second, Jamie Benn third, and Nico Sturm would finish fourth with 60%. The other thing I'll leave you with is an interesting trivia question that I heard on the playoff broadcast the other night. Who is the only coach to win a championship at the ECHL, AHL, and NHL level? I'll catch you guys later. Go Knights, go.
Right. I wonder for the Nico Sturm thing, it's like if that's if he had more face-offs than that or less, or like if you change the number, if he can be number one, like kind of tweak the data.
Yeah, I would be curious to know that as well.
If it's like at least 200 face-offs or whatever, like I don't know how many face-offs he took this year, but
yeah, I don't know what the thresholds are. Do you have a guess for the coach?
not off the top of my head, do you?
I was thinking, I know Bednar, I think, like, won championships at different levels, but I don't think he coached in the ECHL and the AHL. I thought he coached in, like, the Canadian leagues. That's a tough one.
I don't know why, but I want to say like Bruce Cassidy.
Yeah,
as a
I
guess.
mean,
Like, put it out
he
there.
did say while he was watching the playoff broadcast, so, like,
Yeah,
just
it's kind of
based
some
on him probably.
gamesmanship, but like I know he coached in the AHL.
Yeah, he did coach.
I don't know about
Didn't he coach
ECHL.
the Rocket? Maybe not. But that wouldn't shock me. I mean, I think we're just sort of collaborating on this one rather than competing against each other. He didn't provide the answer, like after the fact.
Well, it's not Bruce Cassidy. We can do some research. This podcast hasn't gone on too long. We can spend an hour googling
An
coaching.
hour.
So yeah, Bruce Cassidy did coach in the ECHL and the AHL. Never won in the AHL or the ECHL. So. Oh, actually, hold on, because then he went to the NHL to coach the Caps, which didn't go well. And then he went back to the AHL to coach the Providence Bruins, but I guess they also never won. So, not him.
Oh, wait. I think I got it. Jared Bednar. Yes.
Oh.
Won Kelly Cups as a player with South Carolina in 97 and 2001 and as a head coach in 2009. Led Lake Erie to Calder Cup title in 2016 and Colorado to Cup championship in 2022.
Did he say they won as a player, one of them?
He won as a player in 97 and 2001 and then as a head coach in 09.
Well, what did Gifford say? They won as a player in one of them, or did he specify?
He didn't specify as a player in any of them, I don't think.
Okay.
I think he just
I was
said
thinking coaching for all of them. But...
Yeah. It was coaching for all of them, but he also won it as a player.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So yeah, wow. I second guessed myself, but I probably would have just went for that first, since that was the first name that came to mind.
We got 3-2 Oilers now.
Oh wow.
Another Draisaitl goal, another McDavid assist, and another Bouchard assist.
On the power play?
Copy paste, not on the power play. That's the only difference. But same primary and secondary assister.
They like their guys. They play them a lot, and it works.
Mm-hmm.
Well, hasn't worked in the playoffs so far, but
yeah, this is their year. Maybe.
I think a lot of it will come down to who they would eventually play in the Western Conference Finals, in my opinion. Like if they play, because I think they would beat either Nashville or Vancouver, probably. So if they make it to the conference finals, I think it would be probably between Dallas and Colorado, if I had to take a guess. I think if have to play Colorado again, that might really hurt because they literally got swept the last time, and I think Colorado is dangerous. They might be able to beat Dallas, though.
I don't know. I think it's Edmonton, Toronto in the finals. Now I'm thinking whoever wins this round or matchup between Boston and Toronto, they're gonna get
Loses
beat by
to
the
Florida,
Panthers.
yeah.
The Panthers are looking good.
They are looking really good.
I'm
I was
just-
I was
I
thinking
mean-
the same thing.
If the Bruins get to the second round, they're just. Well, I feel like even if the Bruins had lost this in Game 7, but they didn't start up 3-1, it's like we're kind of playing with house money. But like now it's like we can't blow this because it's like the whole choke artist thing. So we need to make the second round, and then it's like I don't care what happens. I didn't expect to get further than the second round anyway. That's all I wanted this year, second round.
Yep.
Like, say call it loser talk if you want, but I didn't have the highest expectations going into this with Charlie Coyle as our number 1 center.
Right. I feel
And
like
Zach Aston number 2.
I feel like Zach would share a similar sentiment, and at least
Probably.
his expectations for the team heading into the season and into the playoffs too. Like, be content with at least a round win, series win.
Yeah, I'd say so.
That wasn't really the expectation for me for Vegas, but guess we'll see. We'll have to
Tough
catch you
matchup in the
guys
first
next
round.
week.
Yeah.
We will know more then. Well, I think we'll probably be gearing up for round 2 previews at that point, or maybe even games have already begun.
Mm-hmm.
So thanks everyone, and subscribe if you haven't done so. Check us out on the socials, TikTok, Twitter. That's all of them right now.
YouTube,
Yeah, YouTube, sure.
Spotify.
We'll try to post a little bit more on there. You know what? I should ask Gifford to put the TikTok handle on the overlay, because we got the Twitter one always up there. We should get the
why not?
TikTok too.
Yep.
Why not? All right. Thank you. Catch you next time. Bye bye.
See ya. Cloud convert. That doesn't sound too sketchy.
Yeah, I'm always like, the first time you're trying to convert something, you're like, hopefully this is real. Like,
Or like download a YouTube video.
yeah. It's like, oh, what am I about to do?